Part 138. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1371. The topic circled back again, and from beginning to end, it was all because of the children. Luo Zonghua and Cheng Kun nodded. Although they didn't fully understand, they understood roughly. It seems that you are worried about hiring a nanny to take care of your children. She is so attentive to her children, which is really rare in her life. Feng Qingxiu pursed her lips and smiled. It's not that I'm worried, but I think my triplets are difficult to deal with, especially Erxian. Almost everyone knows that, which nanny can take care of them. I really can't bear to torture them. Having said that, the bottom line is that she is uneasy. Which nanny can be as considerate to her children as she is? Although it is rare for nannies to abuse their employers' children now, it is not that nannies gave their employers food to their own children. It is just because the information of later generations is not as developed as it is now, so it is not known. Otherwise, Hanya would be, how did you lose it? Isn't it the nanny who is causing trouble? Although there must be other reasons that the Lu family did not elaborate on. Luo Zonghua hummed, and shook his head slightly at Jinkan, who swallowed to think of what to say. In that case, we won't say anything more. I just hope you won't waste your medical skills. When you change your mind, apply directly to the army. I believe no military hospital will reject a talent like you, Luo. The reason why Zonghua said this was because he didn't know which military region Lujiang would be transferred to in the future. In order to take care of the families of military personnel, if both parties are military personnel and have reached a certain level, they can apply to be transferred to the same military region unit, as is the case for Zhaoyang and Guo Xiuying. Feng Qingxiu understood what Luo Zonghua meant and thanked her profusely. Don't worry, I won't delay my studies because of my family. Luo Zonghua and Cheng Kun also stood up and left. Although it is snowing heavily, how diligent are the soldiers? The snow had been dealt with long ago, and the two of them walked back to the military camp on the dirt road. Why don't you let me continue talking? After listening to Cheng Kun's words, Luo Zonghua smiled and said, I just think what Comrade Qingxiu said is very reasonable. We put our whole life's efforts in the military and do not raise and take care of our children ourselves. It is difficult to understand the hard work involved. Let her. It was really difficult for her to take care of her family while working. She chose to retire from the army and take care of her family. Despite the pressure and public opinions from the outside, it was actually great for Comrade Lujiang to concentrate on her work. We should respect her choice. I just think it's such a pity. You said, if she worked in a military hospital, let alone a military hospital, she could have treated many people even if she worked in any division level and regiment level medical team. Cheng Kun shook his head and sighed. Mr. Guo's close disciple, although she has not studied under Mr. Guo for a long time, they all say that she has learned from many famous doctors. It is such a shame that such a good talent should focus on her family. Comrade Luo, don't you think so? Luo Zonghua spread his hands. You have seen the situation in Comrade Lujiang's family. Comrade Qingxiu's choice is understandable. We cannot forcefully demand that she must return to the army and give up her family. Don't tell me, look at the children in our army. There are really not many children who can compare with the Lu family. How outstanding are they all? They are clean, white and tender. Their speech and behavior are different from most of the children in our army, which makes people feel comfortable. That's true. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1372. Since Luo Zonghua and Cheng Kun came here, no one mentioned the matter of letting Feng Qingxiu return to the team immediately. Life in the Lu family returned to peace. Feng Qingxiu took care of the children in the family compound and talked with her neighbors. Build a good relationship with the right house. They brought back a lot of fabrics and pastry specialties, and the latter took them out and shared them, and everyone remembered her good things. Materials are in short supply and life is difficult. Everyone is scrimping on food and clothing, but no one hates generous people. Food is always tight, but there is no shortage of clothes in the army. The adults' military uniforms are modified for children to wear, and few companies really pay attention to wearing new clothes during the new year. Therefore, the fabric Feng Qingxiu brought back was not used for the time being until Ping Jinkai came to ask for Feng Qingxiu. Sister-in-law bought a lot of cloth that day, can you give me a few feet? Ping Jinkai put his big ball on the table with an embarrassed look on his face. I just received a letter from home saying that my brother wants to get married, but there is no cloth ticket to buy cloth, and there is no way to buy cloth. The woman does not ask for anything else, she just wants to wear new clothes when she gets married. Feng Qingxiu heard this and said, what do I mean? Just wait. She turned around and entered the bedroom. After a while, she came out with a pile of fabrics, a bag of candies, a red gauze scarf, and a pair of red pillow towels. She handed them to Ping Jinkai, take it and send it home. Think of it as us giving it to your brother, I'll take back the money as a wedding gift. Ping Jinkai's family situation was not good, and Feng Qingxiu had always known about it. After his salary was paid every month, Ping Jinkai only kept a few yuan for his daily expenses, and sent the rest back to his hometown. I heard that his parents had to support his grandparents, and sometimes his mother had to subsidize his grandparents. Here are a group of unmarried people, his brothers and sisters, with low wages in their hometown. If it weren't for Ping Jinkai's subsidies, his brother would not even be able to marry a wife. Ping Jinkai took the things, shook his head and said, my sister-in-law bought the things with money. I must not take the money back, otherwise I will feel uneasy. Sister-in-law, I took the things, you keep the money. Before Feng Qingxiu could say anything, he hugged his things and ran away. Comrade leader Lu, let me send the things back first, a voice came from afar. Lu Zhang lowered his raised hand and said helplessly, I want to say, it's already night. You go back and have a good rest. You don't have to come over. I'm in the army. I can't be in any danger. Okay, wouldn't it be nice for Jinkai to be serious and responsible? Feng Qingxiu looked at the unity on the table, what should I do with the money? Lu Zhang said, keep it. If you don't keep it, he will feel uneasy. Although prices are lower than they were a few decades ago, they are not cheap compared to the current wage level. The things Feng Qingxiu gave Ping Jinkai definitely cost more than 10 yuan. Lu Zhang could tell at a glance that the cloth was enough to make 2 clothes. There were clothes, including cotton, khaki, denim, and a piece of purple corduroy. Ordinary cotton fabrics cost 60 cents a foot with a ticket. The price of processed fabrics is very low. 10 feet costs 5 yuan, which is only enough to make a suit of clothes. However, corduroy fabric is considered a high-end fabric and is never cheap. Hearing what Lu Zhang said, Feng Qingxiu had no choice but to accept it. Lu Zhang didn't have to work the next day, so he went to the military service agency early and bought a pair of sheep racks, including the sheep's head. He also bought some mutton and pork with his ticket. When he came back, he cleaned the sheep's head and rack and put them into a big pot to stew. The aroma came from the kitchen in waves. Lu Erxiang drooled with greed and appeared in the kitchen with a bowl. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1373. Feng Qingxiu was angry and funny. Xiang, why are you so anxious? Let's eat, Lu Erxiang said confidently, are you ready? Are you ready? I want to eat. Feng Qingxiu glanced at him, first gave him a small bowl of steamed rice, and then scooped some mutton bone soup from the pot and poured it on top of the rice. but placed the bowl on the stove. It's too hot. Let's eat it later. After listening to Feng Qingxiu's words, Lu Erxian nodded vigorously. For adults, it is a blessing for children to eat. Lu Zhang took a pair of chopsticks and said, there is some meat on the lamb bones. Let me pick it off and mix it with the rice for the child. Feng Qingxiu hummed and watched Lu Zhang fish out the pieces of mutton bones from the pot. He washed his hands and, not afraid of burning them, began to tear off the meat bit by bit. He watched as the originally empty bowl was gradually filled with half a bowl of meat. Silk, dissatisfied, I went to buy bones, and the bones were all smooth. I wish there was no shredded meat at all. How come you can pick out a small bowl of meat when you buy it? Although it's not much, it's better than nothing. Lu Jiangdao, the pork bones you bought last time were not that smooth. Feng Qingxiu smiled, touched the bowl, and felt that the mutton soup with rice was no longer hot, so she mixed some mutton and fed it to Lu Erxian. When he was full, she raised her voice and called Lu Tianzi and the others to come over and serve the rice. The reason why I fed Lu Erxian first was because I was afraid that he would cause trouble, and he couldn't feed the triplets at once. The color of the mutton bone soup that was cooked for the first time was not that white, but it was delicious when soaked in rice. It was paired with a large pot of fried cabbage on the table. Everyone ate very happily. Lu Erxian couldn't help but eat several more bites. Simply a little pig. Zibao likes to eat sheep brains. Lu Zhang specially split the sheep's head open and dug out the brain inside the skull, which made him smile happily. Feng Qingxiu ate a few mouthfuls by herself and fed Zhuang a few mouthfuls. Both mother and son drank rice with clear soup. While I was eating, a nurse hurried over and said breathlessly, Comrade Qingxiu, Comrade Qingxiu, Comrade Chengkun asked me to come to you. I want you to be the surgeon and preside over an operation. What's going on? Feng Qingxiu was stunned. She didn't know the patient's condition, so how could she go directly to the operating table? Do you really think the operating table is that easy to use? The little nurse patted her chest and said, this is a relatively urgent operation. The child fell and was very seriously injured. However, the doctors at our place were all doing the operation and couldn't get away at all. The first person to get off the operating table had to wait 3 days for several hours. It was a major operation in progress, and the parents of the child have agreed to Comrade Chengkun's suggestion. Why do Chengkun and Luo Zonghua want to invite Feng Qingxiu to return to the team? Not just because of the old leader's words, but because of the lack of talent. When Feng Qingxiu was in danger, Lu Zhang and Zibao waited anxiously outside the operating room. Although Feng Qingxiu studies every day and does not forget to practice using the scalpel, she has not had an operation for 2 years. The child's mother, Niu Suhong, and her 2 daughters are also waiting anxiously. Her husband is away on a mission, and she is the only one at home to take care of the children. Now that her second daughter is undergoing surgery, can she not be worried? And the surgeon was Feng Qingxiu. Even though many people told her that Feng Qingxiu was very powerful in the previous army, she could not help but worry. This wait lasts for several hours. When Feng Qingxiu came out, the sky was dark, and the lights outside the operating room were turned on, just to increase the brightness slightly. Woohoo, I finally finished writing it, it took 10 hours. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1374. When Niu Suhong saw Feng Qingxiu and other assistant nurses coming out, she stood up suddenly. She stood up so hard that she staggered and almost fell down. It was her eldest daughter's quick eyesight and quick hands who supported her. Mom, slow down. How is my Ernie doing? Niu Suhong asked Feng Qingxiu hurriedly, ignoring her eldest daughter. Feng Qingxiu took off her mask and nodded to her. The operation went well. The next step is to take good care of her and recuperate. We must take good care of her. We can talk about reconstruction after she has fully recovered. I don't know how the child fell. His left calf was shattered and the bones were misplaced. Although she had undergone surgery and tried her best, Feng Qingxiu was not sure whether there would be any sequelae for the child. Fortunately, his head and internal organs were not injured, which is a blessing among misfortunes. An assistant following Feng Qingxiu said to Niu Suhong, "Don't worry, Comrade Qingxiu's surgery is very good. He is quick and accurate. He is as good as Dr. Miao, the best bone setter in our army." Niu Suhong thanked Feng Qingxiu repeatedly, "Thank you for your hard work, sister-in-law." "You're welcome, this is what I should do." Feng Qingxiu patted her arm. Lu Zhang said from the side, "Sister-in-law, if you need anything, just let me know. Comrade Mu Yun is not at home, and the children's matters are the army's." He had to remind his wife to buy some nutritional supplements and send them over. A considerable number of soldiers, like Ping Zhenkai, have heavy family burdens, and the Mu Yun family is no exception. Niu Suhong nodded, "Thank you, Comrade Commander of the Army, and thank you even more to my sister-in-law for being ordered to perform this operation on Ernie at a critical moment. I told you you're welcome, the child's body is important." In the proud eyes of her husband and eldest son, Feng Qingxiu waited for Dr. Miao to get off the operating table. After checking Ernie's condition, she communicated with Feng Qingxiu and told the nurse various precautions. Then Feng Qingxiu and her husband and son leave. It was already dark and the wind was freezing. "Mom, you are so awesome," Zibao hugged his mother's arm, his big eyes full of admiration. "If you study hard, you will definitely be better than Mom in the future." Feng Qingxiu attaches great importance to the education of her children. She believes that under the guidance of so many masters, Zibao will definitely be better than others. Zibao's eyebrows furrowed upon hearing this, and he said loudly, "Mom is still the most powerful. The little mouth looks like it has been smeared with honey, and it has not changed since childhood." "What about me?" Lu Jianghu asked with a face. Zibao thought for a while, "Although you are also very powerful, Dad, Mom is the most powerful. Mom can save people, cook, foreign languages, draw, and sing. Dad, you will only work in the army." After saying this, he was afraid of being beaten by his father. With a whoosh, he shrank behind Feng Qingxiu and stretched out his little head to see what was going on. Lu Zhang was not angry, but felt guilty. "To my wife and children." He spent most of his life in the army. He was destined to be sorry for his elderly wife and children. He could not accompany them for a long time and take good care of them in terms of food, clothing, housing, and transportation. The burden of the whole family fell on his wife's shoulders, leaving her to work and family. When you can't balance it all, you have to choose to quit the army and return to your family. Lu Zhang is always grateful for his wife's contribution, which also adds to his admiration for the female compatriots in the world, because most of them choose family, while almost all gay men choose to work. This is the difference in attitude towards family and children. The choice of lesbians puts many gay men to shame. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1375. Zibao, you should be beaten twice like Erxian. Why is your father not so powerful? Your father is the most powerful person in our family. He protects the country, the integrity of the territory and the safety of the people. Your father, he gave his all and fought many battles before you were born. The country belongs to everyone, and I protect our little family, so we cannot compare it to each other." Zibao seemed to understand. For a child, his life is in the family. The most powerful thing in his mind is of course the mother he often sees rather than the father he often doesn't see. He still doesn't understand the difference between country and family, even if every day I follow everyone and shout slogans. Why are you talking about Zibao like that? I think he is right. The word country means that the country is in front and the family is behind. Without the country, there is no family. But the family and the country are in the world. The family is in front and the country is behind. There is no one. How can a country come from the composition of a family? Lu Zhang reached behind his wife and touched his son's head. The most powerful person in our family is your mother. Your mother is the head and backbone of our family. Without you, Mom, there wouldn't be this home we have now. I just said I was right. Zibao was proud and came out from behind Feng Qingxiu. He held his father's arm with one hand and his mother's arm with the other. He narrowed his eyes and said, Mom and Dad are very good, awesome, I am the happiest child. This kid became too fast. Feng Qingxiu rubbed her belly, and before she could say that she was hungry, Lu Yang stuffed a toffee into her mouth. I told Tianzi and Au when I brought Zibao out, they must do it now. There's a good dinner waiting for us when we go back. Then let's go. Lambone soup with noodles is the best. The triplets and Fubao were finally coaxed to sleep. Guan Yu and Lu Tianzi just breathed a sigh of relief. When they saw their uncle, aunt, and 11 Bao come back, the two brothers immediately got busy. They heated up the mutton oil in a pan and stir-fried green onion and cabbage. After a while, I poured in today's mutton bone soup, brought it to a boil, put the noodles that had been cut into the pot, cooked them, took them out and sent them to the main room, every step of the way, in an orderly manner. Feng Qingxiu went out without eating at noon. She was really hungry now. The warm lamb soup noodles made her stomach feel very comfortable. So full, Zibao touched his belly and smiled sweetly at Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu. Thank you, brother Tianzi, and thank you, brother Au. It's great to have you at home. You are the heroes of our family. Guan Yu smiled and said, Zibao, have you eaten any candy? No, mommy is so hungry that she needs sweets. When Zibao answered, there was a trace of confusion in his eyes. Why is your mouth so sweet if you haven't eaten any sugar? Lu Tianzi stacked the bowls together and said to Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu, Uncle, Aunt, there is hot water in the steel pot. You guys should wash up and go to bed early. Auntie has had a long day. The operation requires a high degree of concentration. As soon as he relaxed, Feng Qingxiu felt weak all over and nodded politely. Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu took Zibao to their room to rest. Lu Zhang brought foot washing water into the room, only to find his wife sitting on the edge of the bed, her eyes dim and sleepy. There was no cream on her freshly washed face. Wipe it, you must know that she usually uses her skincare products very meticulously. You go to sleep, I will wash your feet. Feng Qingxiu closed her eyes, tilted her head, and fell asleep in an instant. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1376. Lu Zhang sighed lowly. Although Feng Qingxiu was not working, Feng Qingxiu was usually 10 times busier than working. After washing and drying his wife's feet, Lu Zhang helped her take off her clothes, helped her lie down, and then observed the condition of his daughter and triplets before he tidied up and went to bed. The next day is the beginning of spring, followed by New Year's Eve and Spring Festival. The three festivals are connected to form a unique calendar. But there is no holiday during the Spring Festival, let alone New Year's Eve and the beginning of spring. In fact, weekends are also voluntary labor days, so there is no leisure, but people sometimes turn a blind eye. As usual, Lu Zhang got up before 6 o'clock, washed up lightly, gathered with the soldiers in the army to participate in training, and went to the cafeteria to eat on time at 7:30 to start the day's work. Feng Qingxiu was not idle either. The Spring Festival had been cancelled in the past few years and she had just returned from the capital. She had forgotten to prepare the New Year's goods in advance. When she went to the Military Region Service Club, she found that, as expected, there were no chickens in the service club. The fish, meat, eggs, and even the bones, dregs, and egg shells were all gone. When she came back, she asked Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu to take care of her younger siblings, and she took the bus into the city fully armed and carrying a bamboo basket on her back. Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu wanted to separate one person to accompany her, but she didn't agree. Just kidding, ask them to follow, how can you bring supplies back? Although this was not the first time she came to Beizhu City because she took the train, Feng Qingxiu was not familiar with Beizhu City at all. It took her a long time to find the location of the black market. Of course, she was selling things, not buying them. During the new year, the black market business was booming, and many farmers appeared carrying burdens. Feng Qingxiu stood some distance away from the black market, looking around, not daring to directly enter the black market to trade with people. In her opinion, this was the most likely time for a surprise inspection to occur, so she ensured that she would catch everyone accurately. Although she doesn't encounter many usually, it's better to be careful. Soon, she was congratulating herself on her foresight. While some people were secretly talking or trading, a large group of people came out from all directions. They seemed to be staff of the local department. They shouted loudly, and many people fled after hearing the news. Even so, there were still several people who fell into the law, and all of them were dejected. All things and money were confiscated, and people were also arrested. The most severe punishment awaited them. Speculation is a serious crime among serious crimes. After they all left, Feng Qingxiu waited and watched for a while before entering the black market. Unfortunately, there were very few people and they did not dare to appear here again. There were only 3 or 5 old people who could not run away. They did not go far, and because of there was no material that could be used as evidence, so he slipped through the net. When he saw Feng Qingxiu's appearance, he rushed forward instantly. "Daughter, what's in your basket? Is it for sale? I want to buy some New Year's goods, my dear, do you have any?" "I was here first, you can't be the first." An old woman and 3 old men talked to each other and almost had a quarrel. Fortunately, Feng Qingxiu appeared in a relatively remote place, not in the middle of the road or in the venue. However, they spoke in local dialects, which Feng Qingxiu couldn't understand at all. "Stop, stop, stop, stop," Feng Qingxiu quickly made a gesture. She carefully looked at the mental state of several old people. They were in good spirits. They should not be the kind of people who can't eat, so she said, "Me too. Come to buy New Year's goods." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1377. She often frequents the black market and boasts that she can see the conditions of some people in the black market. Many people who cannot afford to eat come to the black market to buy high-priced grains to save their lives, but there are also some people with good living conditions who are not short of money, so they come to the black market to buy some high-priced grains or high-priced non-staple foods. Take a look at these old people. They should all belong to the latter group. They are not sallow and thin, but rather shiny. Feng Qingxiu didn't need that much money, and she didn't want to take the risk of trading with several people at the same time. After hearing what she said, several old people made a sound and walked away. One of them muttered before leaving, "If I had known they were here to rob something, I wouldn't have wasted my time. After such a arrest, there will be too much food for the monks." Feng Qingxiu walked around a few times, not many people were met, and no business was concluded. Just as she was about to leave, heading to another black market, or visiting the flea market, she did indeed leave the scope of the black market. As she was walking, she was blocked by an old woman who whispered, "Sister, do you have any food to sell?" Feng Qingxiu saw her face was sallow, thin, and weak, so she sighed softly, come with me." The old woman was overjoyed and followed immediately. Feng Qingxiu found a remote place. "I only have a few kilograms of fine grains and coarse grains, how much do you want?" "Please give me a few kilograms of coarse grains." "I only have 2 yuan." The old woman was a little embarrassed and whispered, "I came from the countryside. The harvest this year was not good. I only divided 10 kilograms of wheat into coarse grains. Seeing that the Chinese New Year is coming, we only have more than a kilogram of dried sweet potatoes at home, and they will be gone after eating them today and tomorrow. We can't let our grandchildren go hungry during the Chinese New Year, right?" Feng Qingxiu grabbed a bag of multi-grain noodles and brought them out. It was corn flour, black flour, dried sweet potato flour, and sorghum flour mixed together. It was about 10 kilograms. She handed it to the old woman and turned around to leave. She quickened her pace because of the old woman calling from behind. She can't help everyone, so she should help everyone she sees, otherwise she will feel uneasy. The old woman hugged the dough bag with tears in her eyes. Good people, I met a good person again." The business was not completed, so a bag of coarse grains was sent out. Feng Qingxiu hit her head, rushed to the next black market, and concluded several deals in succession. The Chinese New Year is approaching, and prices are higher than usual. Fine grains can be sold for 1 yuan per caddy, and coarse grains can be sold for 50 cents. Although Feng Qingxiu spends money lavishly and her family's savings are getting less and less day by day, she is really not short of the money, but she still deals with people seriously, and she is the kind of person who seems to be clearly short of food and clothing. After selling grain for 30 or 40 yuan, she only met a down-and-out capitalist selling jewelry. According to the other party's asking price, Feng Qingxiu wrapped the jewelry he brought out with 30 kilograms of cornmeal and 10 kilograms of flour. For Feng Qingxiu, this was the biggest gain today. After walking around the flea market, Feng Qingxiu, who had gained a lot, met a limping rural woman who was begging for food along the street. But everyone's life was not easy. How could anyone help her? A middle-aged woman sighed and gave her a thick dough bun. Thank you, Aunt. You are a good person. You will definitely be rewarded in the future." The woman knelt down and kowtowed, then sat on the ground, ignoring her dirty hands, and broke off a piece of steamed buns. He stuffed it into his mouth and ate it hungrily, fearing that the middle-aged woman would regret it or be snatched away by others. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1378. Feng Qingxiu saw that this woman was unkempt and skinny. She looked like she was older than herself, but she knew that she took better care of herself. Many people who looked similar to her were younger than her, so she had no idea about this woman's age. She couldn't see clearly, but she just thought she was pitiful. She rummaged through her bag, took out a can, poured some water from the military kettle and handed it to her. The lame woman was choking. When she saw the water in front of her, she thanked her and drank it. Thank you, the lame woman returned the can to Feng Qingxiu, and stuffed the last mouthful of steamed buns into her mouth. Although she couldn't see Feng Qingxiu's appearance, she was still extremely grateful. Thank you, sister. Feng Qingxiu squatted beside her. What's your name? Why do you come out to beg for food? Doesn't anyone care about you? It's better to beg for food in rural areas because no one cares about it. In the city, it's more strict. People think that begging for food affects the country's reputation. When adults encounter such beggars, they will basically send them back to their hometown after asking them where they came from. A trace of fear flashed in the lame woman's eyes. I escaped. If I escape, I can survive. If I go back, I will die. What's going on? Feng Qingxiu and the middle-aged woman asked in unison. The lame woman shed tears and choked up. Aunt, eldest sister, my name is Lu Gaixiang. I am 28 years old. I have suffered a lot in my life, but no matter how hard it is, I am not afraid. I am afraid of dying. I am 16. When I was 7 years old, my parents gave me 50 pounds of dried sweet potatoes. The man I married was fine at first, but after I gave birth to 2 daughters, his appearance changed. He killed me. When I was pregnant with my 3rd child, he hung me up and beat me. The beating caused me to have a miscarriage and a male fetus came out. Later, he was kinder to me because he wanted me to have a son, but when a girl was born, he broke my legs and left me with a limp. The girl also starved to death. He wanted to continue beating me, but I couldn't bear it, so I ran away. Feng Qingxiu frowned, and the middle-aged woman sighed, "It's so bad to favor boys over girls. Women can hold up half the sky, so why are there still people who retain the backward feudal ideas? Then where are you going to escape?" Lu Gaixiang whispered, "Let's go wherever we go. At least we don't have to be beaten and suffer." "Where is your mother's family?" the middle-aged woman asked. Feng Qingxiu didn't ask this question. Since Lu Gaixiang didn't choose to go back to her natal family, it meant that her natal family was not a human being and could not tolerate her. "Sure enough," Lu Gaixiang replied, "when I was beaten badly, I went to my parents' house to ask for help, but they ignored me. Instead, they advised me to go back and give birth to a son and live a good life with a man. You don't know my heart. How cold. I should have thought that they would not be kind to me, otherwise they would sell me without 50 pounds of dried sweet potatoes. After I escaped, I never thought of returning to my parents' home, because they would definitely kill me. Send it back." Having said this, she got up and bowed deeply to the middle-aged woman and Feng Qingxiu, "I have to go. The further away the better, they won't be able to catch me." "Thank you, aunt and sister. Good intentions, good people are rewarded, you will be rewarded." The middle-aged woman sighed and said nothing more. Feng Qingxiu thought for a while, then caught up with Lu Gaixiang and stuffed her with 10 yuan and a few kilograms of food stamps. "It's not a big deal for you to continue like this. Find a place with simple folk customs to stay, and just say that you are escaping from the mountains and ravines. Those who come out to beg for food don't remember where their hometown is, so they give themselves a different name." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1379. Lu Gaixiang was stunned for a moment, then knelt down and kowtowed to Feng Qingxiu. "Thank you, big sister." Not only did she give her money, but she also gave her food stamps, which allowed her to live for a long time. Feng Qingxiu waved her hand and pulled her up. "Don't say that, and don't kowtow casually. I can't help you elsewhere, and I believe you don't want to go back and face that kind of hateful person, so then find a way to survive on your own." After saying that, she turned and left. After meeting someone like Lu Gaixiang and hearing her experience, Feng Qingxiu was not in the mood to continue shopping. It has been 20 years since the founding of the People's Republic of China, and the slogan "Women hold up half the sky" has been shouted very loudly, but the idea of preferring boys over girls is still deeply rooted in the hearts of many people. Lu Gaixiang's husband is simply not a human being, and is terrifyingly vicious. Carrying a basket of supplies home, Feng Qingxiu told Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu that she bought them at a high price from the black market. There are New Year goods sold in the black market. Some farmers will send their domestic chickens, ducks, geese, and eggs to the black market to sell them at high prices. They will also sell some grains, which are much more expensive than usual. Farmers who are short of money are naturally happy, and some people will go to other places to sell them. Pig heads were sold in the place where Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu grew up, and they followed their brother to visit the black market, so they naturally knew the situation. No matter how strict the state's control is, People will buy and sell when they need it, and it will never be able to prevent the development of the black market. In fact, they believed everything Feng Qingxiu said, but because they were getting older, they felt more and more that their aunt was really powerful, with great tricks and many connections. So, they quickly picked up the things to help deal with them and prepare for tomorrow. Feng Qingxiu brought back a chicken, a large carp, some pork belly, ribs, chicken, duck, and goose eggs, cakes, candies, etc. While her two nephews were dealing with the chicken, fish, meat, and eggs, she began to prepare fried goods for the new year. They are not allowed to eat or drink during the new year, so they can only do it secretly and wait until everyone is asleep at night before starting to fry things. Lu Zhang came back and drove his two nephews back to bed while he and his wife worked together. 2 baskets were filled with butter-fried radish balls and vegetarian fried rice noodles. Feng Qingxiu then made some peanut candies. While busy, she told her husband about meeting Lu Gaixiang today. "Tell me, why are people's hearts so poisonous?" "A tiger's poison cannot eat its seeds," Feng Qingxiu said. "As you once said, equality between men and women will take a long time to develop. Didn't you still fail to achieve equality at that time? The patriarchal mentality formed over thousands of years cannot be eradicated in 10 or 8 years. Lu Zhang stirred the fire in the stove and saw that a few logs were not burned out. He took them out and inserted them into the pile of ashes below. The fire on the logs was quickly extinguished. Feng Qingxiu sighed and put some of the fried food into the space to prevent it from becoming less crispy if left outside. Lu Zhang pinched a ball and stuffed it into his mouth. "It's as delicious as the last time. If you like, eat more. Don't go to the cafeteria to eat at noon tomorrow. I'll ask Tianzi to bring you dumplings. Come back early in the evening for the New Year's Eve dinner. There is no holiday during the Spring Festival. It is so inconvenient that it is very difficult for the family to have a reunion dinner." As a result, the next night, I waited and waited for Lu Zhang to come back. "You guys play at home first, I'll go see what's going on." Feng Qingxiu took off her apron, put all the prepared New Year's Eve dinner on the grate of the big pot, put half a pot of boiling water at the bottom, and covered the pot. "Keep the dish warm." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1380. Although it was New Year's Eve, there was no New Year's atmosphere in the military compound. This has been the case in recent years. The most lively performances are probably the performances of the cultural troupe. Even if they are performing revolutionary dramas, everyone enjoys it because it is the only form of entertainment. Lu Zhang told Feng Qingxiu that he would not go to the show today, but Feng Qingxiu did not find him in his office. "Sister-in-law. Are you here to see Comrade Lu Zhang?" An unknown soldier on guard saw Feng Qingxiu nodding and said hurriedly, "You are all in the canteen reminiscing about the hardships and sweet things. You can go to the canteen to find him. Remembering the bitter and thinking of the sweet?" With this question, Feng Qingxiu found the canteen where Lu Zhang often ate, and heard He Chunming, the minister of the political department, cheering there. After giving the order, many senior generals, including Lu Zhang, picked up their rice bowls and ate the sweet and bitter rice. The so-called yukuzi sweet rice is porridge cooked by mixing tree roots, wild vegetables, and bark with dried sweet potatoes, corn crumbs, wheat bran and other coarse grains. Each person eats a big bowl, and after eating, yes, no limit. Lu Zhang glanced at his wife and was anxious to go back, but he couldn't show it or eat too fast. Remembering the bitter and thinking of the sweet means looking back at the sufferings of the past and looking forward to the beauty of the future. You have to savor this meal carefully. How can you remember the bitter and think of the sweet when you drink it like a gulp? Although Feng Qingxiu didn't know what kind of food her husband ate, she knew it must not be delicious, otherwise she wouldn't have that expression. Others can't notice it, but they know that a husband is better than his wife. Lu Zhang was often expressionless towards others, and others would not study his thoughts. Feng Qingxiu was different. She could guess her husband's thoughts from his subtle expressions and behaviors. Of course it doesn't taste good. It's bitter, astringent, and throat-irritating. After the gathering of remembering bitterness and sweetness was over, Lu Zhang immediately got up and went out to join his wife, and hurried home. When he heard his wife asking him if it tasted good, he replied in a low voice, let's go, my stomach is still empty, I'm just waiting for our New Year's Eve dinner." For the New Year's Eve dinner, he ate a bowl of yukyuzi sweet rice. The couple walked into the family compound and passed by the door of someone else's house. They heard sharp and high-pitched criticism coming from inside. Lu Zhang pulled his wife forward and whispered, "Let's go, don't listen." "What's going on?" "It's the Chinese New Year." Feng Qingxiu had never experienced this before and was very confused. Lu Zhang coughed and said, "This is a family meeting before dinner on New Year's Eve. If our family doesn't have it, it doesn't mean that other people's families don't have it." Feng Qingxiu understood and frowned, "What are you doing? The army is not the only one who remembers the bitter and remembers the sweet. Each government unit will organize a remembering the bitter and sweet memories. There should be some in rural areas too. It is organized by the commune and people are selected from each brigade to participate, but we have never experienced it. I feel uncomfortable. Please update again in the evening, at least 4 chapters, a little more, football tickets, monthly football tickets at the end of the month."